Hey, welcome back to the Foodpocalypse Now podcast. I'm Chris from Foodpocalypse Now, back for another little chat. I guess we're going to talk about some food. We're going to talk about some other things. I always say Foodpocalypse Now is a revelation of all things food, and the Foodpocalypse Now podcast is a revelation of all things Foodpocalypse Now. You know what? I've always been of the mindset foodies don't just sit there and look at pictures of food all day. We don't just sit there and eat all day. We have other interests and other desires of areas where we can sink our teeth and our mind into, and I am no different, and I want to share some things, not just the food that I love, but the other things that I'm enjoying. And today we're going to talk about one of the boxes we did on the Snack Attack video. If you haven't checked out Snack Attack, it's a series, I don't know, it's on YouTube, a video series, I guess you could call it, where I kind of share some of the favorite snacks I enjoy, because I like to enjoy, I like the traditional stuff. I like a Oreo cookie or a Dorito chip from time to time, but I like to delve into some interesting odd flavors and flavor combinations, different snacks that you don't find on your typical store shelf. And I started this series kind of doing that, and I came across the Universal Yums box. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to give this a try, because Universal Yums, they kind of take a different country and put in a bunch of the snacks from that country in each month's box. I believe next month it's going to be South Korea. This past month we had one from Turkey. And the turkey box, you can catch the video. Snack Attack, do the Universal Yums turkey box on... It sounds odd saying turkey box. I'm hoping nobody's thinking just open a box and a bunch of turkeys come out like a turkey clown car. But no, a lot of snacks from Turkey. And one of the snacks I loved the most out of our box from Turkey, and you'll hear me go on about it on the Snack Attack video where we feature that Turkey Universal Yums box, but it was a Snowball. And I like Snowballs as much as the next person here, the United States version. With the cake and the cream and the coconut and the marshmallow and all that. And it's similar to that. The Turkish version is very similar. No marshmallow. There's like a coating. I don't know if it's a white chocolate coating. It's a lighter colored coating, maybe some sort of chocolate marshmallow amalgamation. I'm not sure. But what I loved about it is you got this coconut cake, or actually this cocoa cake, chocolate cake, and this milky, creamy coffee filling in the center, and then you got bits of I totally got it wrong on the Snack Attack video. I'm gonna tell you, because it was my God's honest that I was opening it for and trying it for the first time. I really didn't know what I was getting into. I just it was so different from what I was expecting from the Snowball. Kind of threw me for a loop. I thought it was chocolate sprinkles on the outside. Upon further review after the fact, it's flavored coconut sprinkles on the outside. It's just so good. I ended up buying more. You can go to the Universal Yum shops and get things that were in the bigger boxes that you didn't get. I get the smallest box because I'm cheap like that. But you can get other things, and I love those Turkish coffee and coconut Snowballs so much that I went and bought some more. I may have bought them out. I went to the website, the Universal Yum shop, and they didn't have any more. I was crestfallen and heartbroken, because I'm going to have to start savoring the ones that I did buy. Hopefully they'll get some back, but check them out. You can find them online as well, different places. Just Google it. But just loved these Snowball cakes. They're so good because I liked it because, I could kick back, enjoy it with a cup of coffee at breakfast. I know you're sitting there thinking to yourself, well, Chris, I didn't know you were such a health nut eating Snowballs and coffee for breakfast. And I know. I don't like to brag about how healthy I eat in the morning, but you could have it for a snack at lunch. I've taken a couple in my lunch pail to work and had them as a snack at work and a snack in the evening. They're very much a universal snack. Part of the pun from Universal Yums, but they just go well any time of day, whether you're having them with coffee, a nice tall cold glass of milk. I really enjoyed those, and I hope to see them back on the Universal Yums shop. They're not paying me for this, by the way. I enjoy what they do so much, and those Turkish coffee and coconut Snowballs are just dynamite. And like I said, I'm going to have to parcel out the ones I have left because I don't know if I'm going to be able to get any more. My wife is probably going to find all of our stuff out of the safe and just filled with the snowballs that I have left. And I may have to change the combination, give it to her, and let her deal them out to me so I don't eat them all at once. But at any rate, this morning I got up and I had a coffee and coconut snowball with some coffee. And I was checking out Anthrax. Did you ever listen to the band Anthrax? I'm a huge Anthrax fan. It wasn't always that way, but I became a huge Anthrax fan decades ago, and they're celebrating their 40th anniversary. And what they're doing very cool is they're doing like almost a documentary, but they're doing it in segments. They're taking each little piece of their career, starting from the beginning, and I believe it's Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, they're doing a new episode, usually about 15 minutes long or so, and they're documenting the life and times of Anthrax, and I have just been enjoying it. Now, the latest episode was supposed to come out yesterday. Today's Saturday. It was supposed to come out yesterday, and it didn't, but it did come out this morning, so I was so excited. So I'm sitting there enjoying my coffee and coconut snowball, cup of coffee, and the latest episode of the Anthrax 40-year celebration, I guess you could call it. And one of the things I love about this band is just how fun they are, and always have been. They're especially towards the late 80s. They got a little, at the time. Well, let me start from the beginning. I didn't start out being an Anthrax fan. Their first album came out, Fistful of Metal. I'd heard of it, but I really didn't get into it. Among the Living came out, Armed and Dangerous, Among the Living came out, and I knew of them, but at that time, the mid-'80s, the hair bands were starting to come out, and to me, that was fun. And I was just the right age, mid to late 80s, I'm getting into my teen years, and I wanted songs about girls, getting girls, breakup songs about girls. I wanted that. That's what really attracted me to rock. And a lot of people give what's deemed hair metal. Back then it was just metal. You may have heard some people calling it glam, but back then it was just metal. And that's what I liked. The harder stuff, the more serious stuff. Okay, yeah, that's good, but I want to hear about how to get chicks. And that was really my priority back then. But it wasn't until State of Euphoria came out. And I didn't get the album right away. I knew it came out, it was in all the metal mags, Metal Edge, I bought that magazine religiously, Metal Shop, stuff like that. But oddly enough, I was on a church youth group outing, and it was all of us crammed in some sort of bus, and I had the new Bullet Boys tape. And a kid that I, went to school with and went to church with, he had State of Euphoria from Anthrax. And he heard that I was listening to Bullet Boys, and he hadn't heard it yet. And I think he was expecting something a little harder, something a little more thrash. But we swapped cassettes. And, he's listening to it for a little bit. I'm listening to Anthrax State of Euphoria for a little bit. He ends up giving me my tape back. I don't think it was his cup of tea. And so I kind of felt obligated. But, I was listening to State of Euphoria, and while it wasn't what I would normally listen to, like I said, I was into the glam stuff, Poison, Cinderella, Rat, Crew, stuff like that. I did listen to some of the harder stuff, your Iron Maidens and stuff, things like that, Judas Priest, but getting into thrash, Metallica really, and I'll get into Metallica and how that kind of opened the door for things, but that was about as hard as I got, but I was interested because it was different. Anthrax, the sound, it wasn't like anything I was listening to. None of the glam stuff that I was listening to at the time. I still didn't go out and buy the album. It wasn't until probably a couple years later, my family moved to just outside of Charlotte, North Carolina. And, all my friends were up here in Pennsylvania. I wasn't really outgoing. I really didn't make friends easily. I had a few kids in the neighborhood that we moved to that became friends with, but I was pretty much a loner. And really what I clung to was music. And so I became all about listening to, finding new music, finding different things to listen to. And, I was like, I've seen this band Anthrax, heard them, and I'm gonna pick up State of Euphoria, and I did, and I finally really got to listen to it. It was fun. And of course, you watch stuff like Headbangers Ball back in the day, back in the late '80s. You saw the video for Antisocial all the time, and I really started to get into them. Then started to get into the other albums like Among the Living. My best friend at the time was really into that and kind of was, this song's about Stephen King and that song's about Stephen King and this is about Judge Dredd, the comic, and so really started to kind of get into them more. Persistence of Time comes along in the early 90s. And just great. I love the Joe Jackson Got the Time cover. A lot of other great tunes. There's some samples of Twilight Zone episodes in there. And just some really cool stuff. And then, of course, Joey Belladonna gets fired from the band. That was all kind of a weird time. It was one of those things where, your bands, they just always kind of stuck together, and to see such a prominent figure, because his voice was so iconic for the Anthrax. I knew, of course, I hadn't really listened to the Fistful of Metal, the Nick Turbin stuff. And I thought that, Joey Belladonna was going to be the lead singer forever. But at any rate, he's gone from the band. They brought in John Bush from Armored Saint, which I knew of that band. I listened to some of their work. I wasn't a huge fan, but I wasn't not a fan. I enjoyed what I heard from Armored Saint. They weren't my favorite band, but it was one of those bands where if they're on Headbangers Ball, I'm watching the video. If they're on the radio, I'm listening to the song, and I'm waiting for the bands I really loved. So I was familiar with John Bush. I can't say that he was one of my favorite singers or anything like that. I'm not going to lie, but there again, like I said, I didn't not like him, but that time for Anthrax, when they kind of got into that John Bush era, and you had some of those albums like Sound of White Noise, Stomp 442, things like that I just kind of fell away from the band, and it just wasn't the Anthrax I love. And like I said, Joey Belladonna's voice was Anthrax, or at least a key component of Anthrax for me. And so I like I said, I listened to some of the stuff from those albums. Wasn't there again, it was good music, don't get me wrong, but it just didn't feel like Anthrax to me. So that whole era of Anthrax, I can't say much about, because like I said, I really wasn't listening to them that much. But then back in, 2010, 2011, somewhere along there, Joey Belladonna gets back with Anthrax, and then they put out a couple of masterful albums, Worship Music and For All Kings, which came out in 2016, I believe. And just, that's when Anthrax was back for me. And they kind of, changed the style, back in the mid 80s, when they're doing Among the Living, when they're doing the State of Euphoria, they just kind of had a fun vibe about them. You see them on concert videos and things like that. I was never lucky enough to see the band live, but you're watching concert videos and they're wearing the Jam shorts and the t-shirts and running around the stage, and it just looked like they were having a good time. It wasn't like Metallica where they're all in black t-shirts and black jeans and they're just angry looking, and same with Megadeth and stuff like that. But they look like they were fun to hang out with. And then when they kind of went into that John Bush era, they kind of got darker, a little heavier. And I say darker in so much as, they were dressing, black and black t-shirts and, kind of had more of a metal look to them. And then, like I said, the music was a little harder, a little more aggressive. And they didn't seem like the fun band I knew back in the day. But bands evolve and bands grow. And then when Joey Belladonna comes back, it's kind of like you're taking the best of both worlds. You got that great sound, Joey Belladonna's soaring vocals, and then you've got the heavier, less thrash and more just hard rock metal sound that they kind of got with the John Bush era, and you build those two together, and it's got such a great sound. And just loving what's coming out of Anthrax here, over the past 10 years or so, and really excited for more. I heard some comments from Scott Ian about how they might not make a full album again, or they don't need to, because they've got such a library of great music that they can tour on that. I hope that's not the case. I hope they do come out with some new music, because they just, they're nominated and winning Grammys since Joey Belladonna come back, and that speaks volumes to the quality of music they're putting out. But it's funny because, I talked about Metallica here in a little bit, and a lot of people bemoan Metallica for quote unquote selling out back in the And Justice for All album era. They did the video for one. And I gotta say, if it wasn't for that video, I might not be listening to Anthrax. Because you've got a band like Metallica who, back when I was growing up, nobody actually had a Metallica cassette tape. They always had a dub of somebody else's, and it was one of those, just everybody had like a dub of a dub of a dub, and they were like kind of this underground band that everybody loved, and they were hard and aggressive, and it's when they kind of came to the forefront, it took a band like Metallica and a song like One that was kind of palatable to the masses, that got me thinking, oh well, there's a little bit more to rock and metal than just the glam stuff, than just getting girls, which was kind of my focus. They're my teenage years. So I started listening to Metallica more because of One, and became a fan of Metallica. And then because of Metallica, I started listening to the bands like Megadeth, Rust in Peace, such a great album. Love that album. Holy Wars, Punishment Due is just fantastic. It's so many movements in that. It's just really an interesting song. Hangar 18, stuff like that. And then, kind of started delving into more of the Megadeth library. Started listening to bands like Testament. I was never a big Slayer fan. If you're talking about the big four, Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer, and Anthrax, I was never a huge Slayer fan. I listened to some Slayer. A friend of mine, actually my best friend, his cousin's boyfriend at the time, kind of got me listening to Seasons in the Abyss. It's not that I didn't like them. It just wasn't for me. I like singing, and there wasn't as much singing. With Metallica and Megadeth, James Hetfield and Dave Mustaine are not great singers in the traditional sense, but for what they do, they not great vocal range, but they sing well enough to really encapsulate what their sound is in their voice, and that's great. Slayer just seemed a little too somebody put it best, too Cookie Monster for me, growly and stuff like that, and that's why bands like Testament, I thought, they had great vocals, and Anthrax. That's, I kind of got into them by default when I started listening to Metallica, Megadeth, Testament, things like that, and Anthrax. Of course, I reintroduced myself to them, and of all the thrash metal bands, of all the big four, I think one of the things that makes Anthrax stand out, besides great songwriting, Scott Ian writes a lot of the lyrics, and it's just, and maybe it's not poetry, maybe it's not Shakespeare, maybe it's not Keats or anything like that, but it was songs about things that were cool to me. Stephen King, I'm a huge Stephen King fan. Yeah, they've got several songs, inspired by Stephen King works. Among the Living, Misery, Skeletons in the Closet, some of the new stuff. Breathing Lightning and things like that, really cool to me because I'm a huge Stephen King fan. The Judge Dredd stuff, I Am the Law, so great, and so many other really cool things. They get one of the songs off of Worship Music, Fight 'Em Till You Can't. It's about zombies, and who doesn't love zombies these days? So that was one of the things that was really cool to me, is that how one band and one song that everybody considered them selling out. But if they hadn't done that, if they hadn't gone more mainstream, then it wouldn't have opened up some of these great bands like Metallica, like Megadeth, like Testament, like Anthrax, to a guy like me who really didn't think they were into that at the time. But I found out I did like it, and I was into it, and that's my story of getting into Anthrax. But and so that it made me realize that you can't always judge a book by its cover. You can't always judge things by what you particularly like at any given time. You gotta chew it. It's like food. It's like a good dish. You've gotta take a bite. You got to savor that bite. You got to taste it, really see what you enjoy about it. And maybe you don't like it the first time, but maybe the second time you try it and you're looking at it with different eyes, then maybe it's a little more palatable. And then you realize that you love this dish. It's like that with music, I think. And that's how it was with me and Anthrax. And now, since my first introduction to them back in the late 80s, mid-late 80s, to now, I've just been such a huge fan, and really excited about this documentary, if you will, the celebration of Anthrax, celebrating 40 years. So I know none of those guys are probably listening to my podcast. It'd be cool if they did, but I don't expect that. But I wish them all the best. Thank you, Anthrax. If you do ever end up hearing this, thank you for 40 years of rocking me and making me open my eyes to what music can be, and of course looking for 40 more years. I don't know how old you will be 40 years from now. I'm guessing probably advanced in years. So if you're still rocking, then I'll be buying records. And thank you, like I said, all seriousness, thank you for 40 years. I'm looking for many more, and I encourage everyone, if you've never listened to Anthrax, check them out. If you like hard rock, if you like metal, you're going to dig it, because there's a lot of great stuff, and a great band. Great, I talk so much about Joey Belladonna and his great voice, but, over the years they've had, Charlie Benatti as an innovator on the drum kit. Frank Bello is a great bassist. I love some of his bass riffs. Just kind of reminds me of some of the stuff, those kind of bass riffs you get with like Geddy Lee from Rush, and some of the great bassists, Steve Harris from Iron Maiden. Just those bass riffs that you're like, wow, Frank Bello has those type of bass riffs. Scott Ian, great songwriter, great guitarist. His driving guitar riffs on rhythm guitar, just that's, I talked about Joey Belladonna being a signature sound. That's a signature sound as well. All the band members really bring their signature sound to make Anthrax what it is. And of course, Danny Spitz, who's not with the band now, but back in those those early records, his lead guitar just blistering. You talked about some of the bands with great guitarists in the hair metal, glam metal genre. Danny Spitz keeps up with and surpasses a lot of them. Just a great guitarist. And then, of course, they've got a new guitarist, Rob, who does such a great job, and really enjoy his lead guitar work on these newer albums. So just to check it out. Anthrax is a great band, and a band that anytime I get a chance to listen to them, I am glued to the phone or the speaker or wherever I happen to be listening to my music at. Well, thanks for listening. I'll be back who knows when. I've been trying to get a system down, a schedule down, where I'm going to do snack attack videos on this day. I'm going to do podcasts on that day. And I realized that, I don't want to be confined to just doing one podcast a week. Maybe I'll do two. Maybe I'll do three. Depends on what's going on. So until we talk again, enjoy yourself, enjoy a snack, and enjoy life. Whether it's books, whether it's music, whether it's TV. We're going to be talking about some TV stuff and one watching on the next episode of the Foodpocalypse Now podcast, I believe. And until then, check out our website, foodpocalypsenow.com. You can like us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, follow us, subscribe, all that jazz. Like the videos, check out the Snack Attack. I've been saying this for a while. We're working on some new ideas, just trying to find the time to get started on some of those ideas with new videos and maybe another podcast or so with my lovely wife. But check all of that out, and your support is greatly appreciated. You know, that I'm not making millions of dollars, not even making tens of dollars doing this. I do it for the love of it. Do it because I love sharing, you know, ideas and thoughts about food, ideas and thoughts about music and TV and movies and whatever I happen to be talking about on any given moment on this podcast. But I want to thank you for your support, and please share with those you know and love that might be interested in this sort of thing as well. So until next time, you've been listening to a revelation of all things Foodpocalypse Now.